Hello and welcome to That British Homestead. I thought today we would show you something that we've been doing with our tomatoes that we've been harvesting. As you know, we've been harvesting a massive amount of tomatoes and squash and onions and things like that. So this is a roasted pasta sauce that we really do enjoy in the winter months. It starts off with just some of my patty pan, but if you have zucchini or courgettes, then that'll be fine. Our courgettes have been absolutely rubbish this year, so but our patty pan, which is basically the same as courgette, it's been prolific. One's called sunburst and the other one's called custard, so I'm going ahead and just chopping it up and putting it in the pan. I do want to say here, please don't chop it up the way that I'm chopping it up. Watching this back, it's making me cringe. Right here, I'd never ever cut myself, so I'm like really confident with a knife, and I'm now editing with a massive cut on my hand where I slipped cutting potatoes. So I would say use a chopping board like a normal human being. I will never be cutting like this again, just want you to know. So I'm just basically chopping everything up into very large chunks, and I'm going to be roasting it in the oven. I like everything roasted when I do a sauce, but I do different sauces. So some of them I roast, some of them I don't roast, to give me a bit of a variety. So I add different ingredients in each of them as well. So that's onions, and this is garlic. We have so many garlic. I've used like a massive amount of my stash. We eat a lot of garlic, like a lot of garlic. I love garlic. I could easily eat an entire bulb of garlic in one meal, easily. And then I love it so much. So there is quite a lot of garlic in my cooking. If you don't like garlic, you can always reduce it or omit it. But I tend to use an entire bulb when I'm cooking anything. And I will be adding extra garlic in when I get this out to make pasta sauce. So I now just add any vegetables I have. This is the aubergine that we've grown in the allotment, but it isn't like an actual recipe. I don't really follow recipes. I kind of like see what I have available and then use that, whatever's on hand. That's what I think cooking's about. It's all about eating whatever's available when you are cooking. So there's no point of me going to the shop and buying some ingredients. I rarely do that. I try to use everything offhand. Sometimes like we'll go out and splash out on some like coconut milk or something, but most of the time we're just whatever seasonal, whatever we have, either fresh or frozen, that's what we're going to be using. These are some peppers. I try to, whenever I do a big harvest, I do go ahead and pick up anything that I have in the fridge and make it into a tomato sauce, or make it into, I don't know, whatever I'm cooking that day, so that I have that rotation of stock. Because this time of year you do end up getting tons and tons of stuff, and if you're not like going through it and looking through the fridge, you do tend to get things that just hide in your vegetable crisper. So it's really important that you're going through that and making sure that you are taking out anything that was old. When I say old, remember we harvest every other day, so it might be only 2 days old, but you're just taking that out, chopping it up, using that first. That's what I'm doing here. So these are the new harvest that I'm just going to be chopping up and putting in roasting them. There's jalapenos here, paprika peppers, all sorts of peppers, just because I think it's nice to give it a bit of a kick. It is a very mild pasta sauce, but I do put quite a few chili peppers in there, but by the time you roast it and everything, you can't really get like a really big hit of spice. So I'm just going ahead and de-seeding all of the peppers. I do that because the white bit's a little bit bitter, so it's important to take that out. But basically everything here I'm just going to be roasting. Because I live in the UK, we do get way more green peppers than we do any other peppers. Now these are in a jar because if you're canning you have tons of jars, and what I'm doing is putting them in the jar just to wash them, to make sure that if any like dirt or anything that's on the tomato is removed. These are all my tomatoes that I'm going to be used. I actually ended up removing the chocolate cherry ones because they're my favourite and I ate them. Now they're all roasted, I'm just going ahead and putting them in this big saucepan. It's my big saucepan. And I am going to reduce this overheat for, I think it was a few hours. I kind of just, once again, put it on, stir it occasionally, normally when I'm like making dinner or whatever. So, and then as I keep stirring it, I make sure that it's reducing nicely. I'll make sure that all of this juice and the flavour goes in. When I'm going to be serving this, I do tend to add chicken stock to it, but I don't tend to can it with chicken stock in, only because I can it like this. It's the way I do it, and it gives it like a base of a sauce, so that I sometimes even use this in curries, because it's just a roasted tomato soup sort of thing. Sauce. These are all my onions and my patty pan and my courgette. So I just scrape them off the bottom. They did get a bit stuck. I should have really stirred them, but I didn't. So they're all caramelised and lovely. I was happened to be gifted a bottle of red wine, so we've been using it in a few of our sauces, blending it all up together. And it takes forever just to slow down. You can hear it still. I don't know why I'm showing you it because you can't see inside, but it is obviously. So these are all the tomato sauces finished and cooled down. I think they look quite good. So these are just really easy pop and go meals for when it's like midweek and things are crazy and I'm just going to stick on some pasta. I've got spaghetti squash for me, but obviously my partner and my daughter won't eat spaghetti squash. They'll be having pasta, and just chuck some of this sauce here, saute some meat. Bob's your uncle. I always add veg to it as well, because I always like cheating them on the veg, so I'll probably be adding a load of extra veg in it and blending it up again. Sometimes the top does get etched because it is submerged in vinegary water. That's fine. I do wash down the outside of the jars though, because sometimes some of them siphon a little bit, and just in case that has happened, I like to wash them all down, then into the garage they go. Like that one hasn't etched, you see, because that one must have been at the bottom and this is at the top. But yeah, they look great, they taste amazing. I did pressure can these for 25 minutes. They're just vegetables in there, so I'm very excited about using them. And yes, when I cook them, I'll put even more garlic in. That's right. And before I store them, woman, I will be taking the bands off before I store them. I believe this is because if the top does pop, you can tell, because it's like on top. And I will give them all a good wash and then put them away. Doesn't that look beautiful? If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.